Hi, Rachel. Hi, everybody. Oh man, I am proving the life lesson that wearing these wearables can sometimes be distracting.
Oh, yes.
Yes, and
What's the
I
trying to tell
stuttered
you?
for a second because I got buzzed on my wrist.
Mhm.
So, and it's just like I have to do everything I can not to like.
Yes.
Don't do it.
That's what I love. I have a Garmin and it's more of just a fitness kind of it will only buzz me
Right.
when I get a
Yeah.
text or a phone call, but it doesn't tell me what it is. And I can't do any kind, yeah, you get the fancy kind of watch that does all the things. They're more distracting.
Yes, I know. I go in spurts with wearing it because yeah, sometimes I'm like totally into tracking this or that or the other thing. And if you don't measure it, how can you know if it's changing?
You don't know.
And so this is, a useful tool,
Yes.
and and you have to be careful not to get obsessed with it.
Hmm. Yeah. Whoops, sorry, my background's doing something weird. Yes, it's the tracking is this actually came up in conversation in our group last night, and it's a love-hate thing. And there are
Mm,
so many reasons why people don't track or won't track. And there's a lot of psychology behind it.
yeah.
We don't want to write down the truth of what we ate.
Mm,
And so we can kind of pretend like it didn't happen, but we're really not fooling anybody. We're just deceiving ourselves.
right.
But it works because if we
Yeah.
didn't write it down, it
Yeah.
didn't happen. And then
Right.
we can go on feeling frustrated that we're not seeing results. And also
Yeah.
we know that the act of writing it down will change our behavior. And often
Right.
we don't want to change our behavior.
Rachel, you're saying some hard things.
I know.
We don't want to change.
And that's okay if you're okay with that, right?
Right.
But if you're not okay with that,
Yeah.
right? I think when we realize that, because often we just think, I'm not good at tracking. I'm terrible. I'm not going to do it. And we forget to really analyze, why am I not tracking?
Yes.
What's going on in my head and my heart? What's the
Wow.
psychology here? And when we understand it,
Right.
it can sometimes get us over that hump
Mhm.
and at
Yeah.
least use it as a tool for a couple days to get some
Hmm.
information, you
Hmm.
know?
Yes. So good. That's so important. The other thing can happen too is that, if you're not writing it down, it didn't happen. But on the other hand, like if not, I'm not wearing my watch, I can't walk.
And it didn't count. And so why even do it? I hear that a lot, actually. Yes. So true. So true.
If I'm not wearing it, I can't walk, and like, well, and I forgot to put it on for the first 2 hours of the day. So forget
For-
it.
I lost all those points, all those steps. I know it. I know it.
Right. And so, yeah, bringing it back to why are you doing this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think,
How can you, it's probably not perfect data, but
right.
how can you use it to your benefit?
Yes. This is
Mhm.
another tool like
Mhm.
the scale. It's imperfect. It's
Mhm.
not always, it's not 100% accurate anyway. Um,
No.
it's a guidance. It's hopefully a motivator. It gives you some
Yes.
information.
Yes.
To allow it to negatively impact your behavior means you're taking it out of the category of a tool and putting it
Mhm.
in some sort of category of a judger or
Right. Yeah.
yeah,
Oh, so
yeah.
that's so, yeah, very good thoughts. We're talking about these habits, these healthier habits that we're wanting to shift toward
Mhm.
for our longevity, for our healthier lives, and in part, um, and in doing so, we've included this book called The Blue Zones, and part of our larger conversation.
Mhm.
And Rachel, recap the blue zones, would you?
Sure, absolutely. So the blue zones, you guys, are these 5 areas. And in fact, I was just reading today that I think there is a sixth blue zone, and it is
Mm.
Singapore. And it is
Ooh.
not a natural blue zone. It is a
Oh.
engineered blue zone.
Ooh.
So look more into that if you're curious, but there are 5 original blue zones all over the world in different continents and different places of the world where they've noticed that people live longer, healthier lives with more health to their lives. So it's
Mhm.
adding years to their life and life to their years.
Right.
They're living up into the hundreds and beyond, mostly disease-free and living quality of life. So the
Mhm.
researchers got together and said, let's figure this out, what's going on. And specifically a guy named Dan Buettner who wrote the book, and there's a documentary on this. Lots of recipes, lots of books you can look up. But basically they identified 9 power strategies or 9
Mhm.
power, they call it the power 9.
Yeah.
And these are the areas that all seem to be the same within the 5 zones.
Right.
What were the commonalities? And they discovered 9. So
Yeah.
we are on the 5th one
Mm.
today, right? There are 9 total. We're on the 5th one. And there are different
Yes.
categories. We've already done the move category.
Mhm.
And now we are in the,
We went through the right outlook category.
thank you. We did the
Mm.
right outlook. So that's really looking at what's going on kind of up
Mhm.
here.
Mhm.
Mhm. And now we're
Yeah,
on.
and now we're moving to then we started into the eat wisely category.
Wisely
Right.
category.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
that's where we are today still.
So, yeah, 80%. We talked about Hari Hachibu, I think is the way you pronounce that. And the 80%, eating till you're 80% full. And I've been really trying to slow down and practice that, Rachel.
Mhm.
And man, it makes a difference. And it's so interesting that tricks our brain plays on our, the perspective that we have. So we have to go back to right perspective. And like, I wanted to eat all that food, but you know what? I'm happy that I don't have to eat food all day long to sustain me. And it's, I can get nourished from not very much, and it doesn't mean I'm overly restricting or starving myself. It's not a diet mentality. It's just I'm recognizing what my body needs to get good energy and perform well.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So from there, we're moving to this, our topic today, which is Plant Slant. And I love when we rhyme words and make cute
Me
little things.
too. Little
I love
sing-song
that.
things.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
love
Plant
it
Slant.
too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Great
So
point.
tell us a little bit about Plant Slant.
Yeah, I love that they use the word slant
Mhm.
because it's like a bending towards. It's
Mhm.
not a straight line. It's not all or nothing. Yeah, it's
Mm.
it's a slant. It's not all or nothing. It's not black or white. Could you bend a little bit more that way?
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
most people, as they analyze their dietary patterns, could stand to slant plant.
Right.
Another thing you'll hear in social media and in different outlets is plant strong or
Mhm.
plant forward.
Right.
So the mindset is leading with plants, looking at
Mhm.
your plate and really trying to build half of it with those
Mhm.
plant-based foods,
Right.
whole, real, abundant produce, vegetables,
Yes. Yes. Yes.
and yeah,
Whole, real, abundant. And I love that because you can slant toward actually, the standard American diet, to be fair, is slanted toward plants.
mm,
It's just ultra processed
yeah,
plants made in a plant.
right.
So,
Oh, it's a different plant slant.
a different plant slant.
Oh,
Yeah.
we gotta get our semantics here. I love
Right.
that. Which plant slant are
Which
you
one?
on?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right, because they're using oils and they take a
Yeah. And corn, soy,
yeah.
potato, wheat, which are all plants.
Mhm.
Those are all plants.
Yeah. When they were
Yeah.
originally in their grown form.
Right.
And
Yeah.
then they're stripped down and they're modified and they're stripped away and then built back up and chemicals are thrown in and suddenly you have this frankenfood.
Ta-da!
It's
Yeah.
not really plants.
Right.
So
No.
yeah, so to really when you look at a package and if it says potatoes, but it's like a potato chip, that's a different plant slant. That's that's this way, not this way.
That's right. That's right. So yes, and the other thing is to think about more than vegetables, Rachel, even more than fruits and vegetables. We want to be thinking about avocado fats, nuts
Nuts,
and seeds
beans.
and avocado and olives, and we want to be thinking about beans and things like that. What do they bring out about the beans? Tell us about that.
Gosh, that's probably one of the strongest pieces of evidence and kind of commonality between all of the five zones is beans, is incorporation of beans
Mhm.
daily,
Mhm.
regularly, at least a
Yeah,
serving of beans. And depending on if you're male or female and your weight and your goals of your health, a quarter to a half of a cup is considered a serving
a serving,
of a
sure.
cooked bean.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
beans come in lots of forms. We've got
Mhm.
hummus. That's considered a bean. When it's a whole, clean hummus made,
Yeah,
that can be part of your serving of beans. But we're talking
uh-huh.
about beans and legumes, right? So
Right,
lentils and
right.
garbanzo beans, beans, pinto. The
Mhm.
more, the better, because or the different varieties, you're getting different type of phytochemicals, different
Mhm.
levels of fiber, soluble and
Mhm.
insoluble, different levels
Mhm.
of protein. Um,
Right.
some are meatier than others. Some
Yeah.
are less flavorful, so they can kind of blend into like garbanzo beans or chickpeas. They can kind of go in anything and they sort of disappear.
Yeah.
Um, Whereas a kidney bean is got a rougher, higher fiber content,
Mhm.
rougher outer skin, and more meaty. Right, putting that
Mhm.
into a stew or something is, and it holds up better. So
Mhm.
um, beans, and they're easy to incorporate. You can incorporate beans into dips and like sauces. You can
Right.
beans into soups and stews. It can be a sprinkle on a salad. One of my favorite ways to get my serving is a quarter to a half a cup of chickpeas, and I just pop a can, rinse those suckers off, and over my salad, and that's like one of my lunch.
Simple, easy. Doesn't have to be 3 hours in the kitchen, ultra gourmet, right?
No, no,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that's so good. And I love that you're saying that within the bean world, I mean, you can just explore. Now, some people might have to soak a little longer. Some might have to cook a little longer. People, if they're going from zero bean, you don't want to go from zero bean to 2 cups of beans. So you
Mhm.
want to increase and let your gut, accommodate and build the healthy bacteria that it takes to manage that metabolism and breakdown and digestion of those beans. So,
Oh, I'm so
um,
glad you brought that up. So glad, because that's a big misunderstanding. People start to eat beans, they get excited about healthier eating, and they kind of go with gusto. Um, and then they have GI upset and a lot of gas and distress, and they conclude, I can't tolerate beans,
mhm,
or I'm allergic to beans, or I'm whatever, and
mhm,
then they remove them from their diet.
mhm,
And
mhm,
so you're exactly right. If you're not used to eating beans, and I'm talking like if you're not eating them every day, like for me,
mhm.
if I go a few days not eating beans and then
Yeah.
go back to them, my gut goes, oh, whoops, hello, forgot
Yeah.
about those. The gut changes every 24 hours.
Right,
So
right,
the bacteria that you're feeding. So start
right.
slow. I mean, the recommendation is like a tablespoon. If you're
Yeah,
just starting with beans and lentils, 1 tablespoon. Try it
yeah,
for a day, give it a
right.
day, maybe add another tablespoon
Mhm,
later. Yeah.
mhm. Yeah, that's so important. We have friends that they grow like, I don't know, 35 different kinds of beans on their farm, just a couple miles south of us.
Wow.
Is so cool. We've enjoyed their beans, and I mean, I can't think of all, but they come in so many different colors and
Yes.
speckled and
Mhm.
big, little. The varieties are endless and so fun to play with. And one of my most favorite is the minestrone, especially the minestrone. I think there's a recipe here,
The
the blue zone.
Sardinian
Yeah,
Sardinian
so
submarine.
yeah. Uh-huh. It's
So good. You
good.
can Google it. Anybody can Google it and find the recipe online for free.
Mhm.
It's
Yeah.
excellent.
The other thing I wanted to say about, well, beans, but plants in general is don't forget your herbs and spices. Those are plants,
Mhm.
and that's in the plant family. So when we think, when people say, "Oh, plants," most of the time we're thinking, "Oh, I got to eat more broccoli or whatever." there's so much more in the plant family. Yeah.
Yes.
So, yes. So at OWW, we say 5 cups, 5 colors. That's the first of vegetables
Hmm.
in your day. That's the first step. And the second step is to count 30 different plants in your week.
In your week.
Yeah.
I love that game. I really do. I frequently will print off that checklist and kind of track myself over a week just to see again.
Mhm,
And again,
mhm.
remember every different variety. So if you eat black beans one day and garbanzos the next, that's two different. And
Right.
if you're
Sure.
eating oregano and then you're eating cilantro, those are
Mhm.
two different
Right.
ones. And so
Yeah.
you're counting those up, and you might be surprised. You're much closer to 30 than you might think. But
Right.
then what
Right.
happens is you start to get creative. You might be at
Right.
25 at the end of the week and you're going, I need 5 different ones. What
Right. Right.
could I add some radish? Could I add cabbage or, things you
Mhm.
don't normally add? And then that's where you get
Yes.
creative and have fun.
Yeah. Yeah. So good. Yeah. Let me see. There was another thing that they mentioned other than beans. I had it right here. They say put your fruits and vegetables out on the counter.
Mm,
So you see them.
yeah.
And they're not hidden in the recesses of your refrigerator and that back in the very back of that drawer, creating some sort of primordial soup.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
You've got
true.
them front and center. You're highlighting. You're showcasing them. Yeah.
Kids, especially if you've got kids around, they will grab them if they see them. If you have a bowl full of beautiful fruits and some different veggies, they will eat them. It's
Yeah.
surprising that they will choose that. Again, remember, all those colors, our eyes are genetic.
Mhm.
We're drawn to it.
Yes.
We see a
Yes.
color and we're like, ooh, I want some of this.
Yeah, pretty. Yes, so good. Yeah, and the color then, we've said this before, but it's worth repeating. You're getting so many different of the polyphenols,
Mhm.
and which are anti-aging, anti-inflammatory, anti-cancer. I mean, just pro health, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah, yeah.
Absolutely.
So the other thing they mentioned is eat nuts every day. So here's they quote the Adventist Health Study, and that it shows it doesn't matter what kind of nut you eat to help extend your life expectancy. So a 1 ounce serving of nuts, is probably around 200 calories, right? And I'm going to make just kind of caveat that, but so peanuts and cashews, I think, fall into the legume.
True.
Yes, versus
Mhm.
the nut, so we're talking about tree nuts versus legumes, but anyway, so we're getting our legumes
Mhm.
and maybe in a serving of nuts. Now they have a lot of energy in
Yes.
a small amount. So it's not, you don't have to eat this huge amount.
No, no. And I love that. Yeah, daily measure it out. I have a little quarter cup, which is an ounce of nuts, and I have this little tin quarter cup measuring. And every day I scoop my
Mhm.
nut mix out that I do a homemade kind of, I add lots of different things in
Oh,
there,
okay.
put it on the counter, and that's my
Mhm.
serving. And I might take a
Yeah.
little bit of it and sprinkle it on my salad. I might take
Right.
a little of them and put them in my oatmeal. I might eat them all
Mhm.
at one time, but I know that
Mhm.
that's my serving. And
Mhm.
you want to
Mhm.
keep in mind, if you're eating, now I know peanuts, you put them in the legume family, but if you're eating peanut butter,
Mm.
right? We got to pay attention to the healthy fats are healthy and good,
Mhm.
but these are the ones that can be overconsumed because
Right.
the calorie density and the flavor, right? We can
And the
easily
flavor,
grab,
yeah, and then we put a little salt on that, and then,
right?
just keeps it going. Yeah.
Yes. That's why for me, I love raw, unsalted. So it's unroasted,
Mm.
unsalted. Because if they're like those roasted salted almonds,
Mm.
woo, I can't
Yeah,
stop. I can't, they're
right,
candy, like they're just right. But if they're
right,
raw
right.
and unsalted, I'm
Yeah.
like, I
Mhm.
only need a few.
Yeah, so good. Yeah, that is so true. Yes, like those Blue Diamond or whatever. I don't,
Yes.
there's lots of different brands, but they'll put some jalapeno or habanero or all those fake
Wait,
flavors. They're
right.
fake.
They're
They're
fake.
fake.
Yep.
And they're intended to keep you eating them. And so you're eating the flavor you're not after the nut,
Right.
So you're that flavor is hijacking and bypassing the satiety
Mm.
signal and just going, do that again. And then, we've consumed more energy than we really need.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So I'm going to rephrase what you just said, because I think that this is so good for people to hear. What I just heard you say is that when I'm consuming foods that have fake flavors, industrialized, the wrong kind of plant made flavor on a food, it will hijack, it will prioritize in my brain above and beyond satiety, calorie, nutrition density. It will tell my brain, just keep going, even if I've had the right amount for my body and for what my hunger hormones would
Right.
say.
That's right.
It's that powerful.
It's that powerful. Yes, you become deaf to
Ooh,
that satiety signal until it just feels so uncomfortable.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you become deaf. I mean, when I think about it in those terms, when I
Mhm.
look at a food like that, it becomes, I realize the power in it. And I'm like,
Mhm.
I don't want you to have that power over me. It
Mhm.
becomes a little scary, a little dangerous
Yeah.
to toy with what that's going to do to my mind. I want to be in charge.
Right. Yeah.
And knowing it has that kind of power puts it into a different perspective.
Yeah. Yeah. And you want to feel in control. So, if you enjoy those, that can be a treat every once in a while, but your daily,
Yeah.
intake of
Mhm.
whatever your nut or your legume is going to be just, maybe just a little roasting, just a little salt, something like that. Not too much. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
So
yeah.
plants. I have a little sing song that I always remind
Okay.
myself:
Yeah.
beans, greens, grains, nuts, seeds, and fruit. That's so beans, greens, grains, nuts, seeds, and fruit. And greens, I kind of in my mind, I categorize that as like all veggies, like a vegetable, any kind of
Mhm.
kale, broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage,
Mhm.
tomato. In my mind, I kind of lump them: beans, greens, grains, nuts, seeds, and fruit. I don't
Mhm.
know if I covered all of the plant kingdom, but that was a pretty good.
Yeah, that's it. That's yeah. Because right. That's good. Yeah,
Yeah.
great. Yeah, very good. So, having said all that, tell
Mhm.
us how you're slanting to plants in your dinner
Mm.
today.
So tonight is our small group, and I haven't heard what the theme is, so I'm just going to go with a recipe that I found that looks interesting. I always tend to try new recipes when I'm going places, which can really bite you in the butt, because if you've never tried it, but
You're a
I
risk taker, Rachel.
I am
You're a
a
risk
risk. Totally. But I'm kind of like, oh, I kind of want to try something new. This is fun. So I'm doing a Szechuan cabbage salad.
taker. Ooh.
Yeah, and it has some sort of a tahini dressing. So again, I've never made it before, but I have all the ingredients, and it looks just really fresh and crisp. That I have the red cabbage and the green cabbage, and so excited about that.
Mm.
That will be my offering
Yes.
to our potluck.
Wonderful.
How about you?
Yeah. Well, it looks like I'm at the bottom of the barrel in my habit. So I need to go to the grocery store later, but after dinner, I'll probably do that to create my happy fridge again. Isn't that what is BJ
Super.
Fogg? Super fridge. Yes. So my super fridge has kind of wah, wah, wah.
Yeah.
But I just before we started, I went back to, I still have good stuff in there. I've got purple cabbage. I got red leaf lettuce. I have my orange carrots. I am, the little cherry tomatoes are kind of at the end. So we're going to roast those with a green pepper, like a
Mm,
jalapeno pepper.
yeah.
And that'll kind of revive those. So that's 5 different vegetables from my sad little, my drooping fridge, before we revive it with more plants. So then I have to figure out my husband made his famous, meatloaf, and he actually threw in mushrooms and onion, and he had something else in there. He put, I think I've said this before. He puts a different kind of pepper, so chipotle pepper in there. He puts
Oh,
chipotle, so it's really has a nice.
A unique
seasoning.
flavor.
Yeah, and he
Yeah.
uses oatmeal in there too. So,
Yum.
oh, it's good. Yeah,
That
no
sounds,
grass-fed finished beef. Yeah, it's
there you
good.
go.
So, yeah,
I'm
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 looking
glad you
forward.
reminded us of the plant or of the super fridge. So not just have a
Mhm,
super counter of fruits
mhm,
and vegetables that are out that you see, but the super
mhm,
fridge, the concept from BJ Fogg's book, Tiny Habits, is to have some food prepped and at the very least at eye level. You open your fridge and what do you see? Those are the things you see: fruit, first,
mhm,
your celery, your
mhm,
carrot, your onion chopped up,
mhm,
mushroom, whatever it is. Can you put those front and center and even go further and maybe prep them ahead of time in containers
mhm.
to where they'll
Right.
just, oh, I can grab
Yes.
grab that,
Yes. Yeah.
and it makes it
Right.
a lot easier to
Yeah.
make food and
Super
to eat.
fridge. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's right.
super fridge.
Right. All right. Well, thank you for this, Rachel. Appreciate it. And
Yes, thank you. There are
yeah.
recipe links and book links and resources, everything in the show notes. So take a look, scroll below this video,
Mhm.
wherever you're watching it from, and check out the different recipes, specifically
Mm.
on the Blue Zone's website, where they talk about how to add more plants, and some
Yes.
bean recipes if you're not used to cooking with more beans.
Great. Great.
Yeah.
Thanks for those
All right.
resources. Yeah. And I can't wait for next week.
Oh, yes. Should we give them a preview?
You know, okay, just a little spoiler alert,
Little
maybe.
spoiler.
Okay.
Go
Am I
ahead.
going to do that or are you
Yeah,
going to do it?
you said it. You brought it up.
Well, it's I'm just reading from his thing. It says wine at 5. That's all I know. That's all I know. We're gonna learn. I don't know what that means. Do we start whining at 5 o'clock? I don't.
We're curious. We want to know.
We're gonna find out. We're
We
gonna
don't
find
know,
out.
but
Yeah.
we're going to find out.
Okay. All
Excited.
right. Thanks so much. Have a
See you
great
later,
week,
everybody.
everybody.